Conklin Company with 13 ABC Action News anchor Lee Conklin. First with what's happening behind the headlines. And Take 3, our panel of political analysts.
Good morning, everyone. Sean Hegarty filling in for Lee Conklin this morning. Thank you very much for joining us. A lot to get through this morning. Toledo Public School students flying high, and the country may be going off a cliff. We'll get to all that in just a couple minutes. But first, we want to introduce Paul Zito with the Regional Growth Partnership today. We thank you very much for starting us off. And we're going to be talking about China. You just returned back here with the Regional Growth Partnership from another trip over there. Lots to get to when it comes to that. Let me ask you first, Toledo's been over there with the delegation several times now. How do we continue to be received?
We're received very, very warmly there. This has been the 6th trip over the past few years by the mayor and others to China, and it's very rare that you see a U.S. community, a U.S. metro area go to China with such consistency. So the word is getting out in China that Toledo is a place that knows the value of Chinese business and cares about it and will receive Chinese businesses warmly.
Do you think they don't get that everywhere?
No, I don't. I think most metropolitan areas, most regions are taking a rather short-sighted view and thinking that they can accomplish something in one quick trip and a couple weeks of follow-up. The Toledo area in Northwest Ohio has taken a long-term approach to working with Chinese businesses.
Okay, so when you were over there this time, what was different? Is there a better vibe? Are more people interested in Toledo? Are you hearing from more people?
Over the past few years, we've gained a lot of tremendous publicity in China, in the newspapers, on the television, from the trips that the mayor and others have done there, but also from the Five Lakes Global Economic Forum that happened in September in Toledo.
Right, downtown.
So the PR there has been tremendous, and word has gotten around that the leadership of the business community of Toledo and the region really cares about working with Chinese companies to help them in the United States and to help our local businesses do business in China.
So we are thought of highly over there. Are they ready to spend their money over here?
They are. I have always said that Chinese, in terms of foreign investment in the U.S. and around the world, is decades behind European companies.
Okay.
You know, they've only begun to open up their markets, so they're going through a learning curve. My impression from this trip, we hit 5 cities in 7 days. We exposed the Toledo and Northwest Ohio message to over 1,000 companies. We came away with at least 15 good leads. Okay. And many of those leads are going to be in a position to come and visit Toledo, talk to us about their business plan, and to talk to us about what kinds of investments they'd like to make. So I'm very happy with the progress that has been made.
What do they like about us? Do they like our openness? Do they like the water? Do they like space? What is it?
All the things that we sell to businesses around the country and around the world. Low cost of doing business, quality labor, the air, the water, right. But most importantly, the business-friendly environment, the good Midwest work ethic and the warm and open nature of the Midwest people. They don't feel intimidated when they come here. They feel welcome, and they know that we have a great apparatus in place to help just about any company do business in the United States.
Is there any particular industry that you saw a lot of coming to you and saying they were interested, or was it all over the board?
Well, we're very fortunate that the interest matches the strengths of the Toledo area. Automotive,
right.
Electronics, renewable energy, logistics. So it's a good match.
Okay, so they like us. Now, let me ask you, the Marina District obviously is one project that is very well known, and that obviously piece of property has been bought up by the Dashing Group, and it hasn't produced yet. We've been told they're in the process of doing what they're doing. Is there any hesitation when you talk to people about doing business with Chinese, since that project hasn't necessarily taken off yet, that there might be people skeptical about working with them in the future?
Well, I think the interest from Chinese companies in doing business in the U.S. and investing in the U.S. is immediate. However, they have to go through a learning process of what's different about doing business in the U.S. The case of the Marina District, this was their first entry into the U.S. market.
Right.
And for lack of a better term, perhaps they had some shock in dealing with the different legal system and accounting system, but also in the different ways that the markets act here. I think that things will progress there in a reasonable amount of time.
And maybe to some degree, impatience.
Yes.
From people that have been, maybe they did, I'm sure they knew the history of the project, but the plans that have been drawn up for years and years and people have seen, and then you hear a new investor come in.
Exactly.
And that might be all through the process. So now that you have these leads, you've made contacts, maybe even several contacts with these people, and when they eventually come over, do they seem as excited when they get here, when they see it? Is it negotiations? Kind of where do you go from there?
Well, some have been to the Toledo area already. So they are already formulating a business plan for the U.S., a budget for what they want to invest and how they're going to market their product or service in the U.S. Some have never been to Toledo before or to the U.S. before.
Okay. And never even to the United States.
Many of them,
so the whole
yes.
thing is new.
Yeah. And when they come to Toledo, they love the wide open spaces. They love the relaxed way of life compared to big cities like Beijing and Shanghai. And they love that we have a support system with the universities, with the banks, with the law firms, with the real estate companies, with the logistics companies that can help them with just about any aspect of their business.
So when you go over to pitch a project or to talk to them about that kind of stuff, you go over with essentially the full plate for them to look at.
Yes,
you're just not selling the city, you're selling them support as well.
We're selling the whole region of Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan, and we're selling the business community here. We want all of the members of the business community to benefit, whether it's a supplier of paper or a real estate company or a bank or a law firm or an accounting firm.
Right.
We want them all to benefit.
And presumably they would. I mean, if you get a company that comes over here and has a couple hundred new jobs, the trickle down is going to be enormous for that.
Yes.
However it turns out.
Yeah, the statistic that I like to throw out, there are over 150 foreign-owned facilities in Northwest Ohio. Those employ over 20,000 people directly. If you add to that the supporting jobs from all the suppliers, et cetera, about 45,000 jobs depend on foreign investment in Northwest Ohio.
But you probably know as well as anybody else that to some degree there's a hesitation when it comes to foreign investment. How do you work past some of those barriers?
Hesitation locally?
Yeah, I mean, there's been some backlash obviously on some degree on the Chinese trips. How do you deal with that?
There are data out there that show that foreign-owned companies in the United States are actually very, very stable. They provide very good benefits. They go through the ups and downs of business cycles quite often better than domestic companies. Plus, most foreign companies feel that they owe something to the area in the United States where they are for welcoming them. I've seen great experiences. I was talking to people from Honda last night, celebrating their 30-year anniversary in Ohio. In those 30 years, Honda has never laid off one person in Ohio.
Interesting. I had never heard that. Marysville, I believe, is it?
Yeah, Marysville and several other operations.
So, what are the plans going forward here? Obviously, you'll court those businesses when they come here. Future trips to China planned?
Definitely future trips to China, but China is one piece of the global puzzle. Traditionally, 66% of foreign investment in the United States comes from the European Union. So a trip to Europe is definitely planned for the spring for myself and other members of the business community. In January, I'll be going with University of Toledo to a big energy show in Abu Dhabi.
Wow.
600 exhibitors from around the world in wind, solar, biomass, recycling technologies, water and soil conservation. And that's a natural fit for this region, which is seen as a renewable energy hub around the world.
So Toledo, I'm sure your focus is, obviously doing business here in the United States, but it seems like Toledo is and probably has to be branching out now if it wants to continue doing business and continue to thrive.
Well, there's an old saying of export or die, that for a company to survive the ups and downs of the economy, they need to export. But you can also say the same thing about business attraction and retention, that companies from around the world are coming to the U.S. because of the strength of the U.S. market and the size of the U.S. market. And if they don't come here, they will go somewhere else, to our competition.
With those jobs.
Yes.
You know.
It's all about jobs.
It is. Paul Zito, we thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Toledo Public School students have been flying high. We'll tell you how they're doing that coming up.